Ethan Carter is finally ready to propose to the woman everyone says is perfect for him. There's just one problem. Deep down, he's not sure he believes it. When he walks into a quiet boutique to buy the ring that's supposed to seal his future, he meets Maya Lin, a jewelry designer with a sharp eye and sharper questions. She doesn't just help him pick a ring. She helps him see the truth he's been avoiding. What begins as a transaction becomes a transformation, and Ethan must decide. Follow the life he planned, or risk everything for something real. Hello family, welcome to Storytime with Imzi. Please subscribe and like, it means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The rain tapped gently against the window panes of Ethan Carter's apartment, like the world itself was unsure, hesitant. Outside, the city pulsed in its usual rhythmic blur. Neon lights flickering over damp sidewalks, taxis weaving through the streets like hurried thoughts. Inside, Ethan sat at his kitchen table, staring into a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. He didn't notice. His laptop was open in front of him, browser tabs lined up like small judgments. Top 10 engagement ring cuts. How much should you spend on a ring? And signs you're ready to propose. That last one felt like it mocked him with every unread bullet point. He'd scrolled halfway down and stopped when he reached the question. Do you feel excited or just obligated? He'd closed the tab. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the tightness that had settled there over the past few weeks. Vanessa's voice echoed in his mind, crisp and confident. My parents are coming into town next month. It might be a good time, to make things official. Official, like filing taxes. They had been together for 3 years. Vanessa was everything on paper, successful, beautiful, a powerhouse in her legal firm. His parents liked her. His friends said she was a great catch. And Ethan, he did love her, didn't he? He tried to imagine her walking down the aisle. He tried to picture himself slipping a ring onto her finger. The image wavered, like a bad reception on an old TV screen. Static where there should have been clarity. Still, he reached for his phone, thumb hovering over a contact saved as V briefcase, with a little ring emoji she'd added herself. He ignored it. Instead, he opened his calendar and tapped out a block for Saturday afternoon. Engagement ring shopping. There. A decision made. He felt nothing. With mechanical precision, Ethan stood, dumped the untouched coffee down the sink, and rinsed the mug. The clock on the microwave blinked 10:47 p.m. Rain still ticked against the glass like an unanswered question. He turned off the lights, sank into bed beside the empty side Vanessa had claimed on weekends, and stared at the ceiling. The ring would come. The timing was right. Everyone said so. So why did it feel like a page he didn't remember writing? The rain continued tapping the glass, soft, uncertain, like it was asking a question he hadn't yet learned how to answer. The bell above the door jingled with a soft, silvery chime. Just enough sound to say you're somewhere that matters. Ethan stepped inside, brushing raindrops from the shoulders of his jacket, eyes adjusting from the gray outside to the soft gold of the interior. Luna and Company wasn't a chain store. That was the first thing he noticed. No mass-market branding, no synthetic sparkle. The air smelled faintly of sandalwood and something floral, lavender maybe. And the lighting, it was intentional. Warm, not sterile. It made the glass cases glow like treasure chests, each ring more deliberate than the last. Ethan took a slow breath. A woman stood behind the counter, bent slightly over a velvet tray of unset stones. She wore a loose cream blouse tucked into black high-waisted trousers, sleeves rolled up to her elbows. Her hands moved gently, arranging sapphires and emeralds like they were small planets. She didn't look up right away. You're either shopping for someone you love, she said without glancing at him, or someone you think you're supposed to. Ethan blinked. She finally looked up. Her eyes were almond-shaped, dark brown, curious. And her smile didn't try too hard. It just was. He stammered, caught between defensiveness and intrigue. Is that how you greet all your customers? She grinned, unfazed. Only the ones who stare at the door for 30 seconds before stepping inside. Ethan laughed, surprising himself. The tension in his chest eased by an inch. I guess I'm the second kind, he admitted, walking closer. Her expression softened. We get a few of those, she said, then extended a hand across the counter. Maya Lin, jewelry designer and part-time human truth detector. Ethan Carter, he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was warm, confident. Not dainty. Well, Ethan Carter, Maya said, motioning toward the array of rings behind the glass. Let's find out what your heart thinks you're doing here. He raised an eyebrow. Is that your process? Nope, she said. It's just how I know if someone's buying a ring for love or out of momentum. He hesitated, then looked down at the display case. Rows of rings, each one beautiful, each one expensive, each one with a kind of quiet pressure baked into the shine. He pointed to one, oval cut, platinum band, timeless. What about that one? He asked. Maya leaned forward, her tone still light, but her eyes studying him carefully. Classic choice. Safe. Elegant. Doesn't draw attention. Is that her personality or yours? He looked up, startled. Sorry. Maya shrugged. Rings are symbols. People choose them for a reason, even if they don't realize it. So I ask weird questions. Occupational hazard. Ethan tried to think of something clever in reply, but nothing came. He wasn't used to being read so easily. She reached under the counter and placed the ring on a velvet pad in front of him. You can hold it if you want, or I can show you something different. Something riskier. He turned the ring over in his fingers. It was beautiful, yes, but it also felt like it belonged in a magazine, had more than in his life. Let's see risky, he said, surprising himself again. Maya's smile returned, not smug, just knowing. She moved with a kind of graceful certainty, unlocking a different drawer, pulling out a tray of more unusual cuts and settings. Art Deco, rose gold, salt and pepper diamonds, stories instead of status. As she explained each one, Ethan found himself listening less to the details and more to her voice. It had a kind of warmth that filled the room without trying. She didn't sell. She shared. Something about her made it hard to lie to himself. They talked for an hour. Maybe more. She asked questions no other salesperson would. What kind of music Vanessa liked, if she ever cried at movies, what Ethan thought their life might feel like 5 years from now. And somewhere between a Marquise-cut tourmaline and a vintage cluster ring, Ethan realized he couldn't answer half of them. He left the store without buying anything. But he left with something else. He just didn't know what to call it yet. Ethan sat in his car for 15 minutes after leaving Luna and company, windshield wipers brushing away the fine mist of drizzle like a repetitive thought he couldn't quite shake. The steering wheel felt cold in his hands, but it wasn't the weather that kept him from starting the ignition. It was Maya's voice, still echoing in his head. Is that her personality or yours? It had sounded like a joke at first, but it wasn't, not really. It was the kind of question that dug in and stayed long after the small talk ended. He pulled out his phone. There was a text from Vanessa waiting. V briefcase. Don't forget Thursday. My boss is expecting you to say something charming at dinner, winking face. He stared at it, typed looking forward to it, and deleted it. Then typed sure thing and deleted that too. Eventually, he locked the screen without replying. That night, he made pasta he didn't finish and opened a bottle of red he didn't want. He turned on a podcast and let it play without listening. The apartment felt unusually quiet, though it always felt that way when Vanessa wasn't over. She'd offered to move in 6 months ago. He'd said they should wait. She hadn't pushed. But it was always there, in her glances at the untouched drawer space in the bathroom, in the way she brought a second toothbrush and left it behind, just once, just to see. Ethan walked to the bedroom and stood in the doorway, staring at the closet. Half full. Always half full. The next day at work, he couldn't focus. His screen flickered with the company's quarterly projections, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. Maya. There was something about her. Not just the way she spoke or the ease with which she moved, but something harder to define, like she saw the world as layered, textured. Like she was interested, not just interesting. They'd spoken about diamonds, yes, but also music, movies, the difference between love and comfort. She'd asked what kind of life he pictured, and when he answered with something vague, a house, maybe, somewhere with a view, she had simply nodded. Views are nice. But what do you want to wake up next to? He'd laughed then, dodging the depth of the question. Now it haunted him. On Thursday evening, as promised, Ethan sat beside Vanessa at a long, polished table in an overpriced French restaurant. Her boss laughed at something he said, her co-worker complimented his shirt, and the wine kept flowing. Vanessa glowed in social settings, confident, smooth, charming. Everyone admired her. Everyone assumed Ethan would propose soon. He could see it in the smiles, in the sideways glances at Vanessa's left hand. And he knew exactly what they'd say if he did. It's about time. Not what a perfect match. Not you two are electric. Just finally. And for the first time, sitting in that room full of polished silverware and empty laughter, Ethan felt like a man walking toward a future that someone else had written for him. That night, back in his apartment, he reached for his laptop and pulled up Luna & Company's website. He didn't even know why. Maybe he thought seeing the rings again would clarify something. Maybe he just wanted to feel close to whatever it was that had cracked open in him when Maya looked him in the eye and didn't sell, but listened. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he closed the laptop, turned off the light, and lay in bed, eyes wide open. Something was wrong. He just didn't know if it was the ring, or the person he thought he was buying it for. Saturday arrived like a sigh. Cool air, faint sunlight, the city still damp from a night of quiet rain. Ethan didn't make a plan to return to Luna & Company. He told himself he was just walking in that direction. A morning stroll. Coffee in hand. No agenda. But when the storefront appeared, elegant and understated, nestled between a wine bar and an independent bookshop, his feet didn't pause. The bell chimed again. Maya looked up from behind the counter. She was sketching something. Thin lines of graphite stretched across a grid-lined notebook. This time, she smiled without commentary. "You came back," she said. He gestured with the to-go cup. "Had to return the terrible advice you gave me. You know, about picking a ring with meaning." She leaned on her elbows. "Let me guess. You tried the safe one again, and it still felt like cardboard?" "More like glass," he said. "Clear but cold." Maya laughed, a real one, not the polite kind. "All right then. Let's find something warmer." Ethan didn't realize he'd been waiting for an invitation until she gave him one. They didn't jump straight into ring talk this time. Maya motioned for him to sit at the small consultation table near the back. She brought out a velvet-lined tray, but left it untouched, sitting across from him with her legs casually crossed beneath her stool. The air between them had shifted. Lighter, less performative. "So," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Tell me something about her." Ethan looked at her for a moment, not answering right away. "Vanessa's brilliant," he finally said. "Sharp. She doesn't miss a beat in conversation. And she's ambitious. Driven. All good qualities," Maya said. "And what about you, when you're with her?" He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean," she said, tilting her head slightly, "do you feel more like yourself when you're with her, or less?" It was a small question. Gentle, even. But it slid under his defenses like a paper cut. "I don't know," he admitted. "Sometimes I feel like I'm playing the version of me she expects. Like I'm filtering everything through how she might react." Maya nodded, not with pity, but with recognition. "That sounds exhausting," she said softly. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, a gust of wind stirred the trees. The light through the shop windows shifted, touching her hair like it knew something he didn't. Ethan glanced down at the tray. "Can we look again?" Maya smiled and turned the tray toward him. This time, she didn't name the stones. She didn't pitch. She let him pick them up, one by one, and simply asked, "How does that feel?" He didn't choose anything. But he held a ring for a long time, an antique piece, delicate filigree, a center stone with visible inclusions. Not flawless, but interesting, unique. "It's imperfect," Maya said, noticing his pause. But some people find that more honest. Ethan nodded. Yeah, it feels human. Maya met his eyes. For a moment, neither of them looked away. They talked until closing. About rings, yes, but also about their families. Childhood summers. The music that made them cry. The times they got heartbreak wrong, and the moments that felt like magic. He learned Maya had once studied architecture, but left after 3 years because her hands wanted to build smaller, more intimate things. That she designed custom rings on commission, mostly for couples who had strange stories or unusual beginnings. She liked people with edges. And Ethan, he didn't say everything. Not yet, but he said enough to feel known. As he stood to leave, Maya walked him to the door. Still unsure, she asked. More than ever, he said. But it doesn't feel as scary now. That's something, she said. You'll know when you're ready. And when you do, make sure it's for the right reasons. The door chimed behind him as he stepped out into the soft afternoon air. Ethan didn't look back. He didn't have to. He felt her smile trailing behind him like a thread. Ethan stood in front of his bathroom mirror, toothbrush dangling from one hand, water running unnoticed into the sink. His reflection stared back at him, pale from too many sleepless nights, eyes flickering with a restlessness he hadn't named until recently. The mirror didn't lie. It just waited. The ring box sat on the kitchen counter. He had bought it. Not the antique one. Not the imperfect one. No, he'd gone with the safe ring, oval-cut platinum band, the one Vanessa's mother had once described as classic. The one Vanessa had dropped hints about more than once, circling similar styles in bridal magazines left open on the coffee table, her voice floating behind a cup of tea. Something timeless, don't you think? Timeless. Safe. Impressive in photos. He had gone back a few days after that long conversation with Maya, when his resolve had faltered and old habits rushed back in. Vanessa had sensed the change in him lately, and the pressure had quietly increased, unspoken but heavy. So he did what he always did, what was expected. Maya wasn't there that day. He had left with the ring in a small silver box, and a feeling like he'd stolen something from his future. Now he was supposed to propose. A weekend trip had been planned. Vanessa had booked a cabin upstate, overlooking the lake. Rustic chic, she called it. She packed scented candles and a portable speaker. Told him it would be Instagram-worthy. Ethan said yes, like he always did. But something broke that night when he sat across from her at dinner and watched her list the pros and cons of their future. She spoke of housing markets, school districts, joint bank accounts. She made it all sound so rational, so clean. And all he could think about was a pair of brown eyes behind a glass counter and a voice that once asked, "Do you want this ring to say I love you? Or I guess this is what comes next?" He didn't sleep that night. By morning, he'd made up his mind. They stood on the edge of the lake, just after breakfast. Mist clung to the trees, and the water was still, like it didn't dare move. Vanessa looked beautiful, no question. Wrapped in a cream sweater, hair tied loosely, a soft excitement playing across her face. She thought he was about to get down on one knee. Instead, Ethan took her hand gently and held it between both of his. "Vanessa," he said, "you know I care about you." That was never in question. But what followed was. As the words spilled from him, they weren't perfect. They weren't even particularly eloquent. But they were honest. He told her he didn't know who he was around her anymore. That he'd been more afraid of disappointing everyone than of asking if this life was what either of them truly wanted. She was quiet for a long time. Then she asked softly, "Is there someone else?" Ethan looked at the lake. "There's someone who made me realize I haven't been listening to myself. That's all." Vanessa nodded. Her jaw tightened, and for a moment, she looked out at the water too. "Part of me already knew," she whispered. "I guess I just hoped you'd catch up." He didn't cry. She didn't either. They just stood there, hands slowly coming apart, two people who had tried to build a future out of all the right boxes, but none of the right feelings. That evening, back in the city, Ethan placed the unopened ring box on the table beside his keys. He looked at it like it belonged to another life. And then, with the quiet calm of a man beginning again, he picked it up and walked back to the shop where it all started. Maya was restocking the vintage case when the bell over the door rang. She didn't look up right away. Her mornings were often slow, quiet. Saturdays could go either way. Engagement rushes or long silences filled with polishing cloths and distant love songs playing over the store speakers. But then she heard his voice. "Hey!" Her fingers froze on the velvet pad. Slowly, she looked up. Ethan stood just inside the doorway. Hair slightly windblown. Shirt wrinkled in a way that said he hadn't slept much. In his hand, subtle but unmistakable, was a small silver ring box. She said nothing at first. Neither did he. And then, gently, "You didn't pick one of mine." He gave a crooked smile. "No, I picked what I thought I was supposed to." She walked out from behind the counter and nodded toward the consultation table, the same one they'd sat at last time. They sat. He placed the box between them. The space it took up felt bigger than it should have. "I was going to propose," he said quietly. "Upstate." Vanessa had it all planned out. It was beautiful. Maya watched him closely, but she didn't interrupt. "I didn't do it," he continued. "I told her the truth. I think part of her already knew. She just waited for me to say it." He opened the box but didn't look at the ring. Just turned it so it faced her. She didn't touch it. "She's incredible," he said. "In every obvious way. But I wasn't in it for the right reasons. I was there because it all looked right. On paper. In photos. To other people." Maya still didn't say anything. Then he met her eyes, and something unguarded passed between them. "I kept coming back here," he said. "To the store. But I think it was you. I think I came back for you." Maya let out a breath, but it wasn't relief. It was something more complicated. "You don't know me, Ethan," she said softly. "I don't know Vanessa either," he replied. And that didn't stop me from almost committing my life to her. That made her smile just a little. She stood, walked to the counter, and came back, not with a ring, but with the sketch pad he'd seen on his second visit. She flipped it open to a page, a rough design of a ring. A mix of curves and asymmetry. Organic. Unusual. Honest. "I made this the day you left," she said. After that first long conversation. Ethan stared at it. "It wasn't for a client," she added. "I didn't know who it was for, honestly. I just knew it felt right." He looked up. "Maya, I don't want a ring anymore. Not right now." She nodded slowly. "I just want a beginning," he said. She closed the sketchbook. "I don't do fairy tales," she replied. "I don't want one," he said. "I want something real. Even if it's messy. Even if it's slow." Maya looked at him for a long time, like someone reading a map they'd once drawn in a dream. Then, without fanfare, she reached across the table. Not for the ring, but for his hand. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But when Ethan left Luna and company that morning, he wasn't carrying a ring. He was carrying possibility. And this time it felt like enough. 2 weeks passed. Ethan didn't rush. He and Maya texted, short bursts at first. Articles shared. Songs. An inside joke about customers who asked for blood diamonds, but ethical. They met once for coffee, sitting on a park bench until the streetlights came on. They talked about failure. About fathers. About the quiet pressure of being good enough all the time. They didn't talk about love. Not yet. But something was being built, delicately, like a bridge made of breath. On a crisp, cloudless Thursday, Ethan walked past Luna and company, not meaning to go in. But there she was inside, laughing with a customer, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, tilting her head in that way she did when someone surprised her. He stopped, watched for a moment, not like someone spying, but like someone remembering. How rare it is to see a person so alive in what they do. The next day, just before closing, Ethan came back. This time with a purpose. Maya was wiping down the glass counter when he stepped in. She looked up, half expecting him. "You're lucky," she said, smiling. "I was 5 minutes from locking the door." "Then I'm exactly on time," he replied. She noticed something different in his eyes. Not nervousness, not indecision, clarity. He set something small and wrapped in cloth on the counter. She unfolded it, the silver ring box. But when she opened it, it was empty. He had returned the ring. "I don't want to carry the weight of a choice I didn't believe in," he said. "It was never meant for her. And it never felt like mine." Maya closed the box gently, then looked up at him. "And what do you believe in now?" Ethan reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a folded envelope. Inside, a simple sketch he'd made on a napkin, based on her original drawing. Clumsy but intentional. A ring with curves. A center stone offset, flanked by two tiny ones, unbalanced, imperfect, alive. "I'm not asking for anything today," he said. "I just want to know if you'd make this. For me. Not for a proposal. Not for a milestone. Just because I want to wear something that reminds me I chose something real. That I didn't sleepwalk through my life." Maya studied the drawing, eyes tracing each line slowly. "Are you sure?" she asked. "No," he said. "But I'm honest." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached beneath the counter, pulled out a small leather-bound book and a black pen, and opened a new page. "Let's start your custom order. The ring wouldn't be worn on a finger, not yet. Maybe never in the traditional way. But it would sit on his desk, next to a photo of two people on a bench under autumn trees. It would be a reminder, a talisman, a symbol of the day he turned towards something unfamiliar, and felt his heart, finally, beat without apology. Spring had come gently, the kind of season that arrives unnoticed until one day you step outside and realize the air smells like new things. Sidewalk trees blooming, strangers smiling a little more, the world softening at the edges. Ethan stood outside Luna and Company, not nervous this time, just steady. Inside, Maya was waiting, not behind the counter, but at the small table in the back where they always seemed to land. Two mugs sat between them, his black, hers jasmine green. She was sketching something again. Always sketching. When he entered, she looked up and smiled, not surprised, not performative. Like someone welcoming a story already in progress. They talked for an hour. Maybe more. About little things. She'd adopted a cat that week, feral and distrustful, already chewing through the shoelaces of every man who walked in her apartment. Ethan had finally started writing again, filling notebooks he never used to touch. Not for deadlines, just for himself. There was no agenda to the day, no dramatic gesture, no violin soundtrack humming in the background. Just two people learning how to keep showing up. And then, toward the end of the conversation, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring box, different this time. Handmade, covered in soft leather, with rough stitching. He slid it across the table. Maya raised an eyebrow. Déjà vu. Not exactly, he said. Open it. She did. And inside, a ring. But not for her. It was the one she'd made for him. The one with the off-center stone, the imperfect symmetry. Finished now. Polished, but still a little wild. Just like the sketch. Ethan took it from the box and slipped it onto his right hand. It fit perfectly. I don't want to propose, he said. Not today. Not because we're supposed to. And not because I'm trying to hold on to something. Maya tilted her head. I want to promise something, he said. That I'll keep choosing what's real. That I'll show up with questions instead of answers. That I'll love slowly, but without pretending. She said nothing for a moment, then leaned forward, resting her hand over his. You're ridiculous, she said. You know that, right? Yeah, he replied. But I'm yours if you want ridiculous. I do, she said. No audience. No spotlight. No applause. Just a nod. A breath. Two hands finding each other across a wooden table, beneath a ceiling that still hummed faintly with the sound of diamonds catching light. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, they stayed where they were. Not at the end of a love story, but at the beginning of the only one that mattered.